Good evening and welcome to Personality Profile here on Joy 99.7 FM. And another Thursday evening affords us the opportunity to speak to people who are making Ghana proud. Of course, servants of the land, and get to know a little bit more about them. My name is Lexis Bill, and this evening on Personality Profile, I spend time with an honorable son of the land who now has the nod to represent the people in the Tema East constituency. He has previously served as mayor or the Metropolitan Chief Executive of the Tema Metropolitan Assembly. Now he's in Parliament after causing one of the biggest upsets of the December elections. He actually beat Daniel Ni Kwate Tatosu Glover by a very handsome margin. Well, the very handsome Member of Parliament for Tema East is here, Mr. Isaac Ashai Odamtten. Welcome, Chairman.
Thank you, Lexis, and thanks for having me.
And I see a smile on your face. You're looking good in your very gorgeous gold kaftan. It must be a good day.
Yeah, it's been a tiring day, but
Yeah.
that's what we've elected to do, and I'm happy to be here. Let
Awesome.
me use just this opportunity to thank all our listeners and my cherished Tema East constituents.
Awesome. And let me say congratulations to you because I'm sure everybody knows that it was quite an upset and a very arduous task to win that seat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and I think I agree with all, and especially my friends who, for their love for me, were a bit worried that Tema is usually Christine, the a stronghold of MPP.
Yeah.
But I think I'm right, and I think that our politicking is changing and changing fast. My victory for me is one that sets a new standard and identifies the core essence of we representing our people. And so, yes, people thought it was going to be very difficult, but I knew with God in the vessel, we were smiling at the storm.
How confident were you going into this that you could turn this around?
I was very confident. I mean, of course, no one goes into any battle and takes things for granted, but I was very, very confident. And to sum that up, I mean, if I had to, I was out of the country, studying and trying to organize myself. And when the call came, I had to make all the necessary sacrifices. And obviously, if the calls were not coming from the people, I don't think I would have been.
You think so? It was the calls from the people that made you decide to stand.
Yeah,
It wasn't part of your career trajectory or your ambition path.
I wouldn't say yes and I wouldn't say no, because part of my career aspirations are that which I personally would want to chart. And when I took up further studies, it was to go more into academia. And but the reason I wouldn't say no is that all through my lifetime and my career, I've always left the final call to my maker, God. And so it's not like you plan everything entirely, knowing every bit of the
What's
step
gonna
of
happen,
And so I always made room for that.
Yeah.
And I say the calls came from the people because that is what it is. A lot of people approach me.
What were they saying?
Isaac, you do well in serving your people. There's something peculiar about your leadership, And again, I personally felt the fulfillment of serving the people. I had been in public sector, Ghana Education Service for a decade plus, about 11 years. And I had also been in the private sector for like a decade, in the banking sector. And so when I got the opportunity to serve the people of Tema, it was a new challenge. And I took it. And I can say that over the period, that was the most challenging, but it was most fulfilling. Seeing how your decisions and how the collective decisions of the people you work with can impact directly on lives, on communities, was for me the fulfilling part, because the decisions you take would define your contribution to humanity.
Yeah.
And so it resonated very well with me, and that's why.
I mean, we all know the history of the Tema East constituency. And for anybody to think that the NDC could annex it to this election, it was quite tough. What do you think made you win?
One, the God factor. Two,
Titus didn't have God?
He's the Father of all, and those who diligently seek him, they will find him.
Mm-hmm.
So I leave it at that. The people had the opportunity to compare leadership traits.
Okay.
And I think it was a verdict of the people.
Mm.
Personality and track record will also come to the fore. If anybody told you that politics is all about money, you may have to study the dynamics of Tema East and confidently say that it is not always about. It is. I mean, you need, but I look at the love, I look at the support, and I look at how God brought us through, then I know our electorates, the constituents are probably sharper, they are well informed, they are in a better position in these times to make choices that they believe in. And so the influence factor is there.
Okay.
But people are also looking for that leadership they can trust. And I think that's what made the difference.
Amazing. Well, we want to really get to know it. Since you talk about personality, I personally want to get to know you a little bit more. And I'm sure people would appreciate the kind of man you are or the kind of person you are. Because I've heard a lot about you, of course, from your days as mayor and all of that. So I thought, hey, why not? Let's get to know you now. So where do you hail from and where did you grow up?
I hail from Tema. And I was born and bred and grew up in Tema.
Which part of Tema?
Tema. I mean, the original settlers of Tema. And
okay.
So normally people will want you to add Tema man here, but it's actually Tema.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
It's Tema. Maybe if you want to narrow it down to a particular suburb, then you would say Tema man here. But I hail from Tema.
Okay. Okay.
I'm an indigene of Tema. I'm blessed to represent two strong regions, the Greater Accra and the Central region, by way of biological descent. And so my mom, matrilineally, I'm from Otium in the Central region, and of course, as a proud Ga and a proud Gadangbe, I'm the son of the Tema land. In fact, I schooled basic school in Tema, and that's where I lived my life. I'm a Temanshona boy.
Yeah.
You know, when you say Temanshona boy, back in the days, going to basic school, you have to support your parents one way or the other, and we pushed truck to the beach, you know, to cut my father's business, you know, canoe accessories to the beach, and when they are back from fishing, you have to cut it back home. And so that was basically our contribution, and we did it for joy.
And sing the songs.
Yeah, you know.
Do you remember some of the songs?
Yeah.
Sing one for me. Sing one for me. Let's reminisce. Do you remember one of them?
Yeah, I do, especially when you have bumper harvest and you want to excite the people who are working, you know. There are a lot of songs that will come to mind. Which one is even coming readily to mind for me to? I have a bad voice.
No, that's fine.
Before we close, I'll give you one. But
I'm sure there's one. You've got to sing it now. Don't use the voice as an excuse.
You don't want me to swerve that?
No, I don't want you to, because I'm sure by the season everybody has a terrible voice, but we still sing it and cart along. So sing one for us.
Which one is coming? Tema menyahami nine lala kunaka wote wo ni washan show na wagbla nine awagbla ya wulele ni. In fact, I say this with a lot of emotions. I recall, I will definitely get one of the songs, but I recall days where the workers of my dad would pull me into the canoe, you know, and go fishing with me.
Wow.
And we had what we call Ali. Ali was the particular net or fishing set that caught herrings.
Okay.
Herrings. Some will call it sardinella and those
Okay.
technical names. And you go in the evening and come overnight. You
Wow.
stay overnight and come. And sometimes, for me, it was an adventure.
Wow.
Because I'll come in the morning and still go to school.
Hey.
It wasn't like that is what I want to do. But I took advantage to know what the people working for my dad were up to and how they went about. And it was lovely. It was lovely. I'll come and still do what I have to do to get some few coins. Even when I went to secondary school. So like I said, I lived in Tema, grew up in Tema, supported my parents at the time. We had a big family though, and so...
How many siblings do you have?
21.
You have 21 siblings?
Additional, yeah.
Wow.
With me, we're 22. And so it's a big family.
Same mother?
No, same mother, 7. And
Okay.
I had other mothers. But
Okay.
generally, we lived together, we stayed together, we worked together. A few of them who were out of town.
Would you call it a polygamous setup?
It was.
It was.
And remember, in those days, the men who were polygamous and could demonstrate, ability to take care of men, they were the men. They were considered men until the economic conditions started coming in. I think that we measured, people according to how many children they had, how many. It's not a general yardstick, but it was a place of pride at the time to have more people and show that you can really take care of
the children. Yes.
Was,
Was your father wealthy? Would you say he was a wealthy man? By the standards of those times.
Yeah, I would say he was an average man because he took care of everyone. In fact, my dad, of blessed memory, would push every one of the children to go to school. He would force you. Yet we didn't reciprocate his desire to see us break through into school. Maybe because of the economic conditions, one could easily go to the fishing harbor and make a few cedis here and there. And so sometimes that was not motivating enough for people to put that aside and go to school. But all said and done, we went to secondary school. My secondary school was Kaneshi Secondary Technical. And just before I came here, one of my best friends in secondary school, Samuel Afo, just called me. I even forgot to tell him I'll be on this program.
Wow.
And so it was just reminiscence of the good old days.
Yeah.
And so Kateko, I was in the afternoon shift, It's a bit of struggle, but I think when I put all these together, I tell people that you must first have that drive, the desire to achieve before the environment comes in.
Okay.
I think today, if you give the average young student who want to pursue, they're looking for the flash. It's good. It's good. But you must cultivate that desire that, look, let me be orderly. Let me do something with my life. Let me look at the examples around me and let me make a perfect choice so my end will be better.
Yeah.
I think in Kateko we make good friends. I remember my year group, a few of the names. People have moved on to do very well, and I'm proud. I was a Kateko guy. In those days when you had a lot of inter-school competition, we're also not doing badly at all. And so from Kateko, I got the opportunity to do sixth form, but I changed course after about a month, and then I went to the training college. And so,
okay. Before we get to the training college, I mean, I hear you speak a lot about personal motivation and personal desire to succeed. And I get the feeling that you probably developed this at a very young age, probably before you went to Kateko.
Sure.
Where did that come from? Where did that motivation come from? Was it something that was instilled in you by your dad or your family, or probably the setup at the time?
I would say that maybe let me ascribe that to my current bishop of my church, Bishop John Mensa Morgan, who at the time was an elder of the church, and he would come to our basic school and witness, come and talk to us. And so at that age, I had that turning where my aspirations and desires, things that were, attractive to me, started, getting shaped. And the reason I lay it on that foundation is the obvious attraction to the social life of the time. You live in Tema where you would have sailors, seamen come and there is life. There is nightlife, there is, alternative sources of income for you. And so it was very easy for one to be distracted, from that. And so when I got the opportunity to close in and leave some other things, I think that shaped my desire.
Okay, I'm still trying to understand it. The closing bit, it looks very not graphic, but I want to actually get the real thing where the bishop came in. Was it in church or what? What did you have a personal encounter with him, or what? How did this turn around, or this mental change come in?
One is the church, and that is the God factor.
Okay,
that's the God factor. I recall in basic school, the first drama that we had in school, I played a role, and that was what courted affection for me, and so people became interested in my life.
Okay.
Remember, this is a polygamous family, and so the examples are not too elegant for a young man who is growing. Remember, this is also a local community that has a lot of attractions, a lot of pull factors, that if one was not solid on his or her conviction for life aspirations, career aspirations, and social networking aspirations, one could easily be derailed. And so I situate the church and the kind of leadership that we got at the time that shaped us to guide our choices. And that's where I think maybe it may be different for someone, but in my peculiar situation, that was very, very critical. And once I got hold of it, I recall reading a tract, these Christian tracts. I picked one on the floor, and it was coming from one renowned international evangelist, Oral Roberts, in 1985. And a subtopic on that tract was orderly. Orderly. Otherly. And so when I finished reading, what struck was that, look, I must strive to do something different. I must always be order, not just what is. And so that informed my decisions from then on, that if there is ever a choice for me to do something different, that has to do with choices that have causes, then let me choose that which is different. And so coming home, polygamy. So I set a standard. It may be challenging, but let me be orderly. Let me be different. And so that's how I have tried.
Was there a certain career path that your circumstances around that time exposed you to?
Yes.
Because you were going on the sea for a little bit. You go overnight and help these fishermen, and you cart the canoes to the shore. What did you want to be? Your
question is right, especially when you look at the circumstances at the time. At the time, it wasn't too difficult to get a job, even after just secondary education. And so a group of friends of us who completed basic secondary education at the time, most of them went into industry. So, and I almost got the opportunity to go into industry.
When you say almost, what do you mean?
Almost because everything was done for me to join Aluwex at the time.
Aluwex?
Yes, Aluwex at the time.
Steel?
Yeah, they went to aluminium refinery. They took something from Vaco and then processed. And just at the last hour, the person who had worked this out for me, and my other colleague had gone to Gapoa, Cargo, somewhere in GTMC, And as a young man at the time, it was just very attractive to just go into industry and start life. But I think I was young, and I remember the penultimate night, my mom, late mom, Efakukwa, may her soul rest in peace, comes to me in the room and say, "Papa, you are not going to work. You are going to school." And it was just like a boomerang in my room. You are going to school. And so when
Did you ask her why?
I didn't.
Do you know why?
I at the time I thought that the financial environment, because there was an history, a background to that, writing your final exams and struggling a bit to get through registration, and so that for me was almost like, okay, now let me also make money, start making money, and But I said no. When mommy said no, you're going to school, so I actually went to Winneba Secondary School for the sixth form, but I couldn't settle. I couldn't go through, so I had to leave for the training college. And I went to training college. I remember November. Schools were to go in September, but I went in November.
When you say you couldn't settle at Winneba, what do you mean?
Yeah, I had delayed a bit, and so I had missed my first choice, which was Accra Academy.
Okay.
And so I had to go to Winneba and try and get the second choice going. But just in the process, I ended up in the training college. And that was also a bit inspirational, because someone had hinted in the course of ministration that I would be a teacher. And in fact, I didn't like the idea at all.
Okay. Chairman, I want you to slow down for me. You you missed Winneba. You missed the cracker for starters. Was it because your grades were bad?
I actually made a 10. At the time, distinction was not a bad grade.
10?
Yeah.
So it means you could go
I
to
could
a cracker?
Yeah.
So then why?
I remember I had a pass in biology, and I wasn't a science student. I was a business student. And I could have gotten sixth form at the time, but I got inspired to go to training college. Apparently, to pluck that fear of financial difficulty. At the time, training college was not paying.
Oh, right.
I think we weren't paying fees for training college. But because it wasn't in my plan to be a teacher, I said, Tofia, how do I go to training college with aggregate 10? So it was like, okay, let's go. I got there and I got into it and started, and it was pa. So just after completing training college, it took me just about a year to write the A levels, the complete set, the 4 papers in Temasco as a private student in Tema Secondary School.
Okay.
November. So I wrote the 4 papers at a sitting, and I made it. I made it and progressed to the university, Cape Coast University.
What did you study there?
BCom.
Okay.
BCom. And from there on, I saw that God had his hand upon me. Because you see, if I had insisted and gone to the to sixth form, and let me also not forget to mention my cousin at the time, Mr. Frank Edu. I was living with him, and he advised.
Is it the same Frank Edu we know?
You know one Frank Edu? Yeah. Mine Frank Edu is with NIB now.
Okay.
He said, and he had advised that I'm young, I should go to training college, and I said, Tofiakwa, But later, when I wrote the A levels and got the good grades, he did something. He paid my university entrance fee. And I think he did it for a reason. that he advised me, I hesitated, but I took it. Young men must look for mentors in their lives. It pays to have someone who, in spite of all that you hold dear to yourself, can speak into your life, not cohesively, not by force, but you can reflect on what the person says and take the golden nuggets out of the pieces of advice that person gives you. And I think it has always, if not almost always, yielded good results. You see, because I went to the training college and taught for a year or 3, I managed to make it to the university. And my year group, those I completed O levels with, at the university, those who went smooth, they were just 1 year ahead of me. But guess what? I went to the university on steady leave. So I was paid my normal salary whilst I was studying. And that, I think, it was God's doing, because if financially I couldn't have continued, God made a way. And so in all our getting, the God factor should not elude us.
There you go. I think that's one of the things that I'm going to take out from this conversation. The God factor. It should never elude you. If you're just tuning in, this is Personality Profile here on Joy 99.7 FM. This evening, I'm spending time with the Member of Parliament for the Tema East constituency, Ms. Ashai Odamtten. Very interesting story, life story from the shores of Tema East. Yeah, definitely. You can send us a WhatsApp message on 055-1111-997. If you have any questions for him, would love to hear from you. When we put up the artwork that you'll be on the show today, lots of the messages that were coming were like, oh, the man for the people, the people's man, the choice of the people, and all of that. And I'm excited about it to hear that. Anyway, let's talk about work life now. You spent over a decade with the GES. That's where you began, of course, after training college, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you posted, and how was the experience?
I was posted to the northern region, first to a place close to Kusogo, then to Damango. So I stayed 3 years in Damango. It was a good experience as a young man. That was my first working life, and I got into the community very well. Just when I thought I was settling in well, wrote the exams and had to leave. So in 1996, I left Damango for Cape Coast University.
Why did you leave?
Yeah, because I had gotten admission whilst teaching.
To go to school?
Yeah, to go to school.
Okay.
And so that was all part of it. And then after I got posted to Tema Municipal Education Office.
Okay.
As an accounts officer. So with the BCom background, I was deputizing for the municipal accountant for the GES at the time. And so it started so well there. And I think 2001, 2002 academic year, I got the opportunity to read MBA accounting in Legon. And so whilst at Legon, when I started that program, I got promoted to be a Beza of State School for Deaf for Greater Accra, which was previously in Teshi, but had just been moved to Ajekojo. Every region has a special school.
Okay.
And the Greater Accra, so our listeners, those of you who have children with hearing impairment, the deaf, those with hearing impairment, don't let them sit at home. Don't think that they don't have a future. Find out about the State School for Deaf in your area. They have transport that carries them to the school. They have a boarding. Our time we had a boarding facility, and so I want to urge parents to take advantage. If your child has any impairment, don't sit. Find out which school can build the literacy and numeracy skills of your child, and let's take advantage of that. So from there, as a Beza, after serving my term with GES, I got the opportunity to join International Commercial Bank at the time. Now it is FNB Bank. No, sorry, FBN Bank.
FBN.
FBN, First Bank of Nigeria, yeah. FBN Bank. And I was with them for 10 years. Yeah, I was then for...
What capacity did you join
I
them as?
joined as accounts officer and became the head of finance, became senior manager of corporate services before I left. And so as head of finance, of course, I was responsible for financial reporting, both for the international office, which was basically management accounting for our global office in Malaysia at the time, and also responsible for prudential reporting for the central bank, you know, and then the normal accounts for external auditors and for other corporate reporting.
What made you rise through the ranks like that? What do you think did it for you?
Always remember the God factor.
The God factor. Apart from the God factor.
I remember this story was told, and was it just about a week ago? A friend of mine reminded me of something. I recall one weekend class we had with one of our 12 lecturers. He took us advanced accounting and taxation in Cape Verde. And in fact, I had never even recalled that. But the friend who is also in high standing now, I don't have his permission to blow his cover on this show, but he's a minister of the gospel with Apostolic Church in the North Legon area. And we were having a chat. I said, Isaac, I remember your prayers. We went for weekend classes, and before we started, they asked someone to pray, and I prayed. And indeed, the prayer touched the lecturer, and we never failed his paper the way we were failing previously. And this was shared with me not more than a week ago, and I say, hey, God, then I have to be more conscious of how we communicate. So that's just to tell you that when I joined the bank, I was taken as a finance officer. Then an opening came up. The head of finance had gone to UK to do something. And then within 3 months, I got confirmed and moved to that office. And I think I got favored in terms of how I delivered my responsibility. And so after about 4 years, I got promoted as senior manager corporate services. So I was in charge of finance, corporate communications, administration, and estates. So I had oversight responsibility over the 4 departments: estates, admin, corporate communication, and then finance. And so in 2013, when I got the opportunity to serve in government as the Metropolitan Chief Executive, I informed my organization. They were willing to let me go. Initially, they thought I could do that on Sekem and then go and come. I said, no, I wouldn't want that conflict of interest situation. So I resigned, severed all ties with the bank, and then took this appointment.
What were the conditions in the bank better than the new role you took?
Yes, it was.
So why did you take the new role?
The new role also came with a call, you know. In fact, I didn't understand the entire journey into mayorship or into the metropolitan. Or it's not like I had studied about it. It was not like I was craving for it. But I knew it was an opportunity to serve first my people, and second my party, the National Democratic Congress, and then Ghana at large. And so I took it. Of course, the reason I say I had the bank, you know, the pets that comes with the bank. You have your car regularly. They give you car loan, give you rent loan. So those things made life a bit cool. But in this new role, you are now part of policy implementers, you know. And so we took advantage, and then we started. We did our best as Metropolitan Chief Executive. I'm sure the records will be there for you to refer when you talk about the Ghana District League table. The 3 years we served, twice we were first, and once I was second. You know, so that's the kind of record we left in And I'm happy that I got a certain contribution into the socioeconomic development of Tema in general and Tema East specific.
Right.
I left office for 4 years. Within the 4 years, I served both the NDC as I pursued my personal aspirations, and I served the community. Even whilst I was out of the country, I still did what I needed to do. And I think that the verdict of the people is that I've been away for 4 years, but they still remembered my days of service.
Yeah.
And I believe that service is critical in all that we do. You see, when the essence is to serve, you will never get it wrong. But when the essence is to take care of yourself, you may lose service. And once service is not there, one day you would account for it.
Right. And since you're talking about service as mayor, your time there wasn't as smooth as you'd expect. Eventually, even as of last year, there were court cases against you. I think late last year you were even arrested at some point.
Sure.
There was some demonstration to get you released and all of that. There was all that brouhaha.
Yeah.
What was really the issue? Did you really cause financial loss to the Tema Municipal?
Absolutely.
Tema Metropolitan Assembly?
Absolutely no. Absolutely no.
So where did that case come from?
I would always walk chest out when it comes to accountability of the stewardship with God. There were key principles that God helped me to hold on to, which gives me the confidence that through it all, I would be able to beat my chest and say, I served my people with the best of my ability. So the allegations, we are in court, and so I wouldn't want to go into it. But I'll say three things. Number one, institutions of state who are mandated to ensure good governance of this country must do better. And I say this because I find it difficult to come to the conclusion that what kind of investigation would bring us to the point where they would say Isaac has embezzled money or even caused financial loss. I can't understand. And so I want institutions of state to do their work for Mother Ghana first. Number two, we have a situation where wrong may be applauded and good will be vilified. And it's because there is a certain convention or a certain character attraction. People are happy to see some people mainly because of what they give out, but not because of how they do things. Let me put it in another way. What I'm saying is that let us cherish the virtues in people, not just the bought images. And finally, on the issue is the service. I served the people of Tema in truth. I offered leadership that they can trust today. And the records there is that in 1 year, we gave the people of Tema, I said for 3 years. The first year, the kinds of things we did, both hardcore and system changes. The second year, the way we carried the people along. The third year, the infrastructural development we brought to the people of Tema. These are all records that came out of service. And anytime I mention service, I work with about 5 nearing retiring, near retiring staff, people who were in their 59, 58. And I tell you, sometimes as early as 5 a.m., we are in the local communities assessing needs practically, not just taking records from people, but if it's drain, If it's waste management, we go there.
Okay. So Mr. Odamtten, where are these allegations coming from then?
I would answer this by saying that in all these allegations, the foundation is that if I'm not contesting for parliament, then I'm clean. But so long as I'm contesting for parliament, then there is something I have to answer. So we are in court, we'll answer.
I understand that bit, but you talk about these three pillars, which obviously tell me that, okay, you're a man of integrity, accountability, and all of that service. So why would somebody fabricate these allegations against you?
They call it politics. And that's why I have employed institutions who are to do a good job.
You think it's politically motivated?
There can not be any alternative.
Probably your opponent?
There can't be any alternative.
Engineered by your opponent?
Absolutely no alternative to that. Because you see, the earlier allegations were like, I've created an account, and I've heard media men run some of this story, and I shudder to ask if they keep their conscience. Because one of the media houses, and this thing started, when it started, I kept explaining, giving them the facts as it is. Mm-hmm. But at a point I knew that any informed listener or reader will be able to see through. So I stopped worrying about it. But the way in which they draw other people into it, and the way in which they fashion, I fear for our archives and records for academic work. Because tomorrow, if someone goes to the library and wants to research on a topic, the kind of things we allow media or we allow people to put out there and say, okay, go and rebut or go and... I think that we are hurting the institutional memory, we are hurting the body of academics if we continue to churn out falsehood just to make a point.
Do you think these falsehoods were churned out to probably get you to lose the seat you won?
No, first to deter me from contesting.
Okay.
So it was first to scare, we'll dirty him. So, But when that failed, internally, a lot of things went on, and finally they thought this would gel with the people. This man is not credible, but they know me. And I seriously, I don't fret at this.
Good
it
stuff.
Doesn't move me at all.
Lots of messages coming in for you. Hi, Lexis. I like your guest and the fact that he's real in himself. He speaks like a real Ghanaian, very cool and detailed. Anyway, he successfully communicated in a pictorial manner from Sumesh in Ekwapim North Ridge. All right, Lexis, super interview with Honorable. What will be that deep key advice he will give to the youth? Tell him that we all have mentors, but the question is, even when you try to get closer and talk to them, they suck you. Examples are there, some of the MPs that we vote for. That's from Douglas in D.C., Danceman. Okay, Douglas, thank you. Good evening, Honorable Ashai. This is your brother and friend, Ben Mensah of Okyapiman School.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it says congratulations for winning the Tema East seat.
Wow, Ben, thanks. I have reference to Ben. Ben and I in Cape Coast University, we started the University Students Association, and I owe him a lot of credit.
Awesome, awesome.
Was,
so maybe you would want to wrap up by answering the question about what you would have to share with the youth.
And the question ended by saying that it's difficult to access the people. You see, on the wheels of service, you don't go to people and go and demand things. First, look for the opportunity to sell. Every youth who wants access to anybody, I did it before. I had a senior brother who had a car. Okay, to learn how to drive, I didn't get to do it. But what I did was early in the morning, I'll go and wash the car. And I did that for almost a year. I still didn't get the opportunity to drive. But when I went to Accra, I did that and I got the opportunity to drive. So what I'm saying that youth service to access people.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting and waiting for opportunities to come, look for that mentor.
Yeah.
Look at what you can do. Maybe it's just a matter of opening his door. It's a gate for his car to enter. I'm not saying always go, but don't waste any hour.
Okay.
Whatever hour you have, serve someone. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It can be just helping an old lady with a bucket of water. That could be the door into your future dreams.
Amazing words. You're a wise man. Thank you so much.
Wow.
I'm so happy I got to speak to you here on Personality Profile. God bless you so much, and I pray that you're able to make the people of Tema East proud that they chose you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on your show, and thanks to our cherished listeners.
Yes.
May the Lord bless all of us. So as we desire to serve Tema East people, we do it by excellence.
Awesome. There you go. And that's the Member of Parliament for Tema East constituency, Mr. Ashai Odamtten, here on Personality Profile on Joy 99.7 FM. Adele sends our final message. Good evening, Lexis. Very interesting interview. The God factor. Yes, Honorable should continue the good work. And I'll leave you with that. The God factor. Please, this evening, when you say a prayer, say one for Mr. Odamtten and say one for me too. My name is Lexis Bill. Thanks to my team, Adam Naite, Philip Nye, Abeku Sankofisa, Onofori, Anita, and Mirabelle. And thanks to you listening to Joy 99.7 FM. I'll leave you with Uncle Ken. He's coming up and he's going to spend time with you this evening on Joy 99.7 FM right after the news at 8 o'clock.